Hi, and welcome back to Advanced Placement Psychology. Dr. Jones with you again. This time I want to explain to you how the free response sections work on the Advanced Placement exam. Now, on the actual Advanced Placement exam, the AP exam, the FRQ is actually two questions. And one of the questions is research methods based, so it's going to largely focus on research methods, though it doesn't have to in its entirety. And then the other one is going to be like the ones you're going to practice throughout this study guide. And the questions usually start with a scenario. So as you can see this one from the 2016 exam, it talks about Ashley and their drive from New York to California. Then within that, there's going to be a number of different things you have to write about. In fact, there's going to be 7 different things you have to write about in each FRQ. So what I did for the study guide here is I went through every free response from past AP exams, and I pulled out the questions that are relevant for each unit, and then I only put in the part of the question that is from that unit, because the questions, the bullet points that you have to respond to can really be pulled from any of the 9 units. So what I did is I said, okay, this is from the 2016 exam. These 2 items are relevant to Unit 2. So I only put those 2 in. But know that there's actually 7 that you have to respond to. What I also did is I put a link to the full question. So if you want to see the full question in addition to these 2, you can click on this. And then this down here is the rubric the College Board used to score you. And that's what I want to actually show you and start with, is how does the College Board score these? Because it'll help us figure out the best strategies and how to write them. All right, so a couple of considerations. Obviously, scores, your free responses have to be in complete sentences. But what I really want to do is jump down here to number 3 and number 4, because those are going to be the 2 most important things as you write your FRQ. First, definitions alone will not score, but they may be used to enhance the application. We're going to be talking about that, the definitions and the applications, and you're going to want to be able to include both. So notice they made a point of that there, and we're going to come back to that. And then this is the most important part. Within a point, a student will not be penalized for misinformation unless it directly contradicts correct information that would have otherwise scored a point. All right, so what does that mean? That means you can write something that is totally incorrect and it doesn't count against you. They just ignore it. They just pretend like it's not there, unless it contradicts something else you wrote. But for the most part, incorrect information is just ignored. So what does that mean for you in writing your FRQs? You should write as much as you possibly know about a topic. Spend every last second you have getting down on paper everything you possibly know about the topic. And that'll give you the best chances of scoring it. Because what's the worst thing that happens? You write down something that is incorrect and it's just ignored. But the chances of you scoring the point go up tremendously when you put down everything you know. All right, so let's go back to this 2016 question here. All right, so you'll notice there's the scenario, and I'm not going to read through the whole scenario now. And then there are these bullet points that you have to respond to. Now, as I said, there are normally 7. For ours, there's only going to be 2. Here's the strategy that I think you should use when you're writing your free response. It's called the SOTAs method. I did not come up with this. I wish I had, and if I knew who was the originator of it, I'd give them credit, but I don't even know who the originator is, but a number of AP psychology teachers use this method. And so you'll notice that it's an acronym there for helpful remembering, the SOTAs method. So these are the 5 things that you're going to do: spacing, organization, definitions, application, and synonyms. So let's start with spacing. What should you do for spacing? Well, when you go to write your FRQ, and there's 7 things you have to write about, you should put a space after each paragraph. How many paragraphs in total should you have? You should have 7. This is not a traditional essay. You're not going to have an introduction. You're not going to have a conclusion. You're going to start writing right away about whatever the first topic is. Then once you finish that first topic, you're going to skip a space, and then you're going to write about the second topic. And then you're going to skip a space, and you're going to write about the third topic. And that's the organization. Those 2 things are important for a couple of reasons. So it's not going to impact your score necessarily. But what it does is when you are completely finished writing your essay, you should have 7 paragraphs. So it's easy to go back and count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes, I got them all. And you can do that easier when you skip the space. The other thing you're going to notice is that when you start writing and say you have 3 minutes left, and remember I said you want to write as much as you possibly can, you might want to add stuff to an earlier paragraph. And if you've skipped a few lines, you can go back up and easily add some stuff that you might have missed the first time around. The organization helps you because it allows you to see, did I hit point 1? Did I hit bullet point 2? Did I hit bullet point 3? Boom, 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 boom. And you don't have to waste time, going through your essay and scouring through it to try and figure out if you talked about everything you're supposed to talk about. So that's important for you just in terms of the setup. The D and the A here are probably the two most important things, the definition and the application. So for each of those bullet points, you should define the term and then apply it back to the prompt. Oftentimes, the College Board will say definitions alone without examples or applications will not score. But definitions can help enhance your chance of scoring it. So for each of those terms, you want to define the term in your own words, and then make sure you apply it back to the prompt. So coming back here to our question, so you'll see the first one bullet point is motor neurons. You will want to define what a motor neuron is or what motor neurons are, and then you want to make sure that you apply motor neurons back to this scenario of Ashley driving from New York to California. Now, when you go to the scoring, you will see, here's what they're looking for. Students must depict motor neurons enabling Ashley's movement in the context of driving a car. So again, what is a motor neuron? How does it apply to Ashley? And that's what you're going to want to do for each of the bullet points. As I said, a normal one is 7, right? But for this one, you're just going to do for 2. So what I'm going to do it in each unit, I'm going to pull out the FRQ from a previous AP exam. I'm going to pull out only the bullet points that are applicable to that unit. And I want you to practice writing in this method, this SOTAS method. All right. And then at the end, pull up the SOTAS method. And then at the end, I have a link back to the College Board scoring so you can go back and see, did I hit what the College Board is looking for? One last thing in the SOTAS method is the synonyms. I like that in there because sometimes in order to explain something, you have to come up with a synonym to show that you understand what it means. So if you're, for example, talking about correlational research, you can't say, well, the correlational research showed a correlation. Right? That doesn't show you understand what it means. So you might have to come up with a synonym or an explanation for what a correlation is so that you can demonstrate that you understand it. Do the SOTAS method and then check to see how you performed. Hope this helps. Till next